Commander Jake Mitchell stood at the large window of Kepler Station and looked out into the black space. Stars dotted the darkness like tiny diamonds. He had been watching this same view for 3 years now, but today something was different. Today something was coming. The alarm buzzed softly behind him. Jake turned around and walked to his desk. The screen showed a message from the radar room. Unknown ship detected. Distance: 2 million miles. Speed: steady approach. Jake picked up his radio. This is Commander Mitchell. All staff to battle stations. This is not a drill. Station came alive with sounds of running feet and closing doors. Jake had trained his people well. Within 5 minutes, everyone was at their post. But this was not like the training exercises. This time, nobody knew what was coming. Lieutenant Sam Torres ran into Jake's office. His face was red from running. "Sir, the ship is huge. Much bigger than anything we have ever seen. And sir, it's not moving like our ships move." Jake followed Sam to the radar room. The screen showed a dot moving toward them, but the numbers made no sense. The ship was 3 miles long and 1 mile wide. No human ship was that big. It was moving without using any engines they could detect. "How long until it gets here?" Jake asked. "For hours, sir," said Sam. "Should we call for help?" Jake thought about this. The nearest human fleet was 6 days away. Whatever was coming would be here long before help arrived. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we have contact with an unknown ship. And send a message to Captain Lisa Stone on the USS Defender. Tell her to come here as fast as she can. The USS Defender was only 2 hours away. Captain Stone was known for being good at talking to people. If these strangers wanted to talk, Lisa was the best person for the job. Jake watched the dot on the screen get closer. His hands were sweating. In all his years in space, he had never seen anything like this. The ship was so big it could destroy Kepler Station without even trying. But it was moving slowly, like it did not want to scare them. 2 hours later, Captain Lisa Stone arrived on the USS Defender. Jake met her at the docking bay. Lisa was a tall woman with short black hair and calm eyes. She never seemed to worry about anything. "What do we know about them?" Lisa asked as they walked to the command center. "Not much," Jake said. "The ship is huge. No weapons that we can see. They have not tried to talk to us yet. But Jake, the ship is beautiful. I have never seen anything like it." Jake was right. When Lisa saw the alien ship on the main screen, she could not speak for a moment. The ship looked like it was made of silver and light. It moved through space like a fish swimming through water, smooth and quiet. "They're trying to talk to us," said Sam Torres. "The radio is picking up signals." "Put it on the speaker," Lisa said. A voice came through the radio. It sounded strange, like music mixed with words. But somehow, everyone could understand what it was saying. "Greetings, human. Friends, we are the Zephyrian Collective. We come in peace. We wish to speak with your leaders." Lisa picked up the radio microphone. "This is Captain Lisa Stone of the United Earth Fleet. Welcome to our space. We would like to speak with you too." "Thank you, Captain Stone. We request permission to send a small ship to your station. We have much to discuss." Lisa looked at Jake. He nodded. "Permission granted. Use docking bay 3. An hour later, the aliens arrived. They looked almost like humans, but taller and thinner. Their skin was pale blue, and their eyes were large and silver. They wore long robes that seemed to shine with their own light. The leader stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Vex High. We have traveled far to meet your people." Lisa shook his hand, felt cold but friendly. "Welcome to Kepler Station." "We are happy to meet you, Dr. Ben Carter." The station's scientist watched the aliens carefully. Something about them seemed nervous. They kept looking around and checking small devices they carried. Ambassador Vexai smiled. "We would like to learn about your technology. In our culture, we always share knowledge with new friends. May we examine your ships?" Lisa thought this was normal. When 2 groups of people met for the first time, they usually showed each other their tools and weapons. It was a way of showing trust. "Of course," Lisa said. "We can show you our ships. Would you like to start with the USS Defender?" Suddenly, all the aliens looked at each other. Ambassador Vexai's smile became smaller. "Perhaps we could start With your civilian ships first? Or trading vessels or science ships? Dr. Ben Carter found this strange. Most aliens they had read about in books were interested in military ships first. Those ships had the most advanced technology. Is there a problem with military ships? Lisa asked. Oh no, no problem, said Vexai quickly. We just prefer to understand peaceful technology before we look at weapons. It is our way. Lisa nodded, but she felt confused. The aliens seemed scared of something, but she did not know what. The next day, the Zephyrians looked at 3 human trading ships. They used strange scanning devices that made soft humming sounds. Everything seemed normal. The aliens asked many questions and took notes, but when Lisa suggested they look at the USS Defender, the aliens became quiet. Ambassador Vexai checked his scanning device and whispered something to the other aliens. Captain Stone, we need more time to prepare our equipment. Our scanners need special settings for military technology. Could we wait until tomorrow? Dr. Ben Carter watched the aliens walk away. He had noticed something important. Every time someone mentioned human warships, the alien scanning devices made different sounds. And the aliens always found reasons. To wait that night, Ben went to see Lisa in her quarters. Captain, I think something is wrong. The aliens are afraid of our warships, but I don't know why. Lisa looked out her window at the beautiful alien ship floating in space. Maybe they're just being careful. Their technology is much more advanced than ours. What could they possibly be afraid of? Ben shook his head. I don't know. When they scan the Defender, I want to watch them very carefully. Something tells me we're going to learn something important about ourselves. Admiral Tom Hayes was not happy. Sat in his office on Earth reading reports from Kepler Station. The aliens had been there for 5 days now, and they still had not looked at a single human warship. This was not normal. Tom picked up his phone and called Intelligence Officer Kate Ross. Kate, I need you to find out what these aliens are really doing. Something is not right. Kate had been thinking the same thing. She had been listening to radio signals between the alien ships and Kepler Station. The aliens were using their own language when they thought humans were not listening. Kate had computer programs that could translate some of their words. Admiral, I think you should hear this, Kate said. She played a recording on her computer. The alien voices sounded worried and scared. What are they saying? Tom asked. Kate looked at her notes. They keep using words that mean dangerous and forbidden, and they mention something called the old warnings many times. Tom felt cold. Old warnings about what? I don't know yet, sir, but they are definitely afraid of something. Back at Kepler Station, engineer Pete Johnson was working on the USS Defender. He was fixing some problems with the ship's scanning systems. Pete had worked on ships for 15 years and knew every part of every human warship. Pete noticed something strange. Every time the alien scanning drones came near the Defender, they would fly close and then suddenly turn away. The drones would scan the outside of the ship, but never look inside. Pete called Dr. Ben Carter. Ben, you need to see this. The alien scanners are acting weird around our ship. Ben came to the engine room where Pete was working. What do you mean weird? Pete showed him a computer screen with dots moving on it. Look, the alien drones come close to scan us, right? But watch. What happens when they try to look at our weapon systems? On the screen, 3 alien drones flew toward the ship. As soon as they got close to the weapon areas, the drones stopped working. Their lights went out, and they floated away. Maybe their scanners can't handle our technology, Ben suggested. Pete shook his head. No way. Their technology is much better than ours. This is something else. It's like they don't want to scan our weapons. Ben felt excited. This was the proof he needed. Pete, can you record this happening? I want to show Captain Stone. Meanwhile, on the alien ship, Ambassador Vexai was having a meeting with his team. The other aliens looked worried and scared. They spoke in their own language so the humans could not understand. The scans confirm it, said Science Officer Thalwin. The human warships have the same energy patterns we found in the old records. Vexai closed his eyes. Are you certain? This could change everything. I am certain, Ambassador.
All the humans
build their warships the same way the old enemy did. The way the Void Hunters built their ships. Another alien named Kextal spoke up. but the humans seem peaceful. They are not like the void hunters in the old stories. Maybe they don't know what they are, said Tallowan.
Right.
Maybe they don't understand what their technology really does. Vexhai stood up and walked to the window. He could see the human space station in the distance. It looked so small and innocent, but he knew that appearances could lie. We must be very careful, Vexhai said. The old records say that even looking too closely at Void Hunter technology can be dangerous. We cannot let our people scan those warships. Back on Kepler Station, Captain Lisa Stone was getting frustrated. Every day, the aliens found new reasons to delay scanning the military ships. Today, Ambassador Vexhai said their equipment needed special repairs. Dr. Ben Carter knocked on Lisa's door. Captain, I have something to show you. Ben brought Lisa to see Pete's recordings. They watched the alien drones approach the Defender and then suddenly stop working. This has happened 12 times now, Ben said. Every time they try to scan our weapon systems, their drones shut down. Lisa frowned. Maybe our weapons give off some kind of signal that breaks their equipment. That's what I thought at first, Pete said. But look at this. He showed them another recording. When they scan our civilian ships, the drones work perfectly. It's only military ships that cause problems? Dr. Amy Clark joined them. She was a physicist who studied how different technologies worked together. I have a theory, she said. What if the aliens are not having equipment problems? What if they are turning off their scanners on purpose? Why would they do that? Lisa asked. Amy looked serious. What if they're afraid of what they might find? Lisa thought about this. It seemed impossible. The Zephyrian technology was hundreds of years ahead of human technology. What could they possibly be afraid of? That night, Kate Ross called Admiral Hayes with more translated alien messages. Sir, I think I know what's happening. The aliens. Think human warships are dangerous to scan? Dangerous how? Tom asked. I'm not sure. They keep talking about mind poison and reality wounds. They seem to think that studying human military technology can hurt them somehow. Tom was quiet. For a long time, Kate, I want you to find out everything you can about these old warnings they keep mentioning, and keep listening to their communications. The next morning, Ambassador Vexhai met with Captain Stone again. He looked tired and worried. Captain Stone, we have a request, Vexhai said. Instead of examining your military ships, could we meet with your civilian vessels, your science ships and trading ships? Lisa was getting tired of these delays. Ambassador, we have been happy to show you our civilian technology. But part of first contact is sharing military information too. It shows trust between our peoples. Vexhai looked uncomfortable. Of course, Captain. It is just that our analysis equipment is very sensitive. Need more time to prepare it for military scanning. Dr. Ben Carter spoke up. Ambassador, we have noticed that your scanning drones shut down around our warships. Is there a technical problem we can help you solve? All the aliens looked at each other quickly. Vexhai's face became very still. There is no problem, Dr. Carter. Our equipment is working perfectly. But Ben could see that Vexhai was lying. The ambassador's hands were shaking slightly, and he would not look directly at any of the humans. After the aliens left, Ben turned to Lisa. Captain, they're definitely hiding something. The question is what and why. Lisa looked out at the beautiful alien ship floating in space. It looked so peaceful and advanced, but something was very wrong. Ben, I want you to study our own warship technology. Look at everything, weapons, engines, computers, everything. Find out what makes our military ships different from our civilian ships. What am I looking for? Ben asked. I don't know, Lisa said. But the aliens are afraid of something about our warships. Need to find out what that something is. Pete Johnson overheard their conversation. Captain, I've been thinking. What if the problem is not with their equipment? What if the problem is with our ships? Lisa turned to look at him. What do you mean? What if there's something about human warships that we don't understand ourselves?
What?
Something that scares aliens who know more about technology than we do. Three humans stood in silence, looking out at their own ship, the USS Defender. Suddenly, their own technology seemed mysterious and frightening. What secrets were hidden in the metal and circuits of human warships? And why were advanced aliens so afraid to find out? Dr. Steve Adams was tired and dirty. He had been digging in the red dirt of Mars for 6 months now. The ancient ruins he found were unlike anything humans had ever seen before. The metal was black and seemed to absorb light. The walls had strange symbols carved into them. Steve wiped sweat from his face and looked at his latest discovery. It was a large room with walls covered in writing, but this writing was different from the other symbols. It looked newer, like someone had carved warnings over the older text. Steve took pictures of everything and sent them to Dr. Nina on Earth. Nina was the best at reading ancient alien languages. If anyone could understand these symbols, it would be her. 2 days later, Nina called Steve on the video phone. Her face looked excited and scared at the same time. "Steve, you need to see what I found," Nina said. "These symbols are not from one alien race. They're from many different races, and they all say the same thing." "What do they say?" Steve asked. Nina held up her translation notes. "They are warnings. Warnings about something called the Void Hunters. And Steve, some of this writing is in early Zephyrian language." Steve felt his heart beat faster. "The same Zephyrians who are visiting Kepler Station right now." "Yes." "And according to these writings, the Zephyrians knew about the Void Hunters. Thousands of years ago, meanwhile, on the Zephyrian homeworld, Scholar Catherine was having trouble sleeping. She worked in the Archive of Forbidden Knowledge, where her people kept records of dangerous things from the past. The reports from Kepler Station worried her very much. Catherine walked through the dark halls of the archive. The walls were covered with warnings in the old language. "Do not seek what should not be found. Not study what drives minds to madness." She came to a special room that was locked with 7 different keys. Inside this room were the records of the Void Hunters. Catherine had read these records many times, but tonight she needed to read them again. The first record was written by her ancestor, a scientist named Vothran. It was written 3,000 years ago. We found them in the dark between stars. Ships that moved without engines. Weapons that killed without firing. We thought they were advanced beyond our understanding. We were wrong. They were not advanced. They were broken. Their technology should not exist, but it does. It follows no rules of science or nature. Catherine turned to the next page. The writing was shaky, like the writer's hand was trembling. "We tried to study their ships. 3 of our best scientists looked at their weapon systems. All 3 went insane. They spoke of mathematics that ate numbers, of computers that thought impossible thoughts. We stopped our research immediately." The next records told the story of the war between the Zephyrians and the Void Hunters. It was not a war of armies and battles. It was a war of survival against beings who used chaos as a weapon. Our ships do not follow the laws of physics. When our scanners try to analyze their technology, the scanners break. Not just break, they become infected with the wrongness of Void Hunter science. Equipment that scans their ships begins to work backwards. Computers start calculating things that cannot be calculated. Catherine read about the final battle. Zephyrians did not defeat the Void Hunters with better weapons. They won by running away and hiding until the Void Hunters disappeared into deep space. The last record was a warning for future generations. If you ever find technology that works like the Void Hunters, do not study it. Do not try to understand it. Run. Back on Mars, Steve Adams made another discovery. In the deepest part of the ruins, he found a room with pictures carved into the walls. The pictures showed battles between different alien races and strange ships that looked wrong somehow. Steve took pictures of everything and sent them to Captain Rob Green, who was leading a joint humans-Forian science team. Rob was known for being brave and smart. If these discoveries were important, Rob would know what to do. When Rob saw Steve's pictures, he immediately called Ambassador Vex High. "Ambassador, we need to talk. We found something on Mars that I think you should see." Vex High's face went pale when he saw the pictures. The ships and the ancient carvings looked familiar. They had the same strange angles and impossible curves as human warships. "Captain Green, we must go to Mars immediately," Vex High said. "It is more important than you know." 2 days later, Rob Green and Ambassador Vex High arrived on Mars with a team of scientists. Dr. Nina Bell met them at the ruins. She had been working day and night to translate more of the ancient writings. "The writings tell a story," Nina explained as they walked through the ruins. Thousands of years ago, there was a race called the Void Hunters. They built ships that used technology, based on chaos instead of order. Vexai stopped walking. What did you say? Chaos instead of order, Nina repeated. Their weapons and engines did not follow normal scientific rules. They worked by breaking the rules of how things should work. Vexai looked sick. Show me the pictures of their ships. Nina led them to the room with the wall carvings. When Vexai saw the ancient pictures of Void Hunter ships, he sat down heavily on a rock. These ships look like human warships, Rob said, looking at the carvings. The whole design, the weapon placement, it's very similar. Vexai nodded slowly. Captain Green, I must tell you something. My people have been afraid to scan your warships because they remind us of these ancient vessels. Dr. Nina Bell found more writings deeper in the ruins. These were warnings written by the survivors of different alien civilizations. The Void Hunters build their ships wrong on purpose, Nina read aloud. They take working technology and break it in specific ways. The broken technology becomes stronger, but also dangerous. Dangerous to study, dangerous to understand. Rob looked confused. Why would anyone build broken technology? Nina continued reading. The Void Hunters learned that chaos is more powerful than order. When you break the rules of science in the right way, you can do things that should be impossible. But the cost is madness for anyone who tries to understand how it works. Steve Adams pointed to another section of the wall. Look at this part. It talks about what happened to scientists who studied Void Hunter technology. Nina translated the ancient symbols. Those who scan the chaos ships lose their minds. Their equipment becomes infected with wrongness. Even looking at the blueprints can drive engineers insane. The chaos spreads like a disease through any mind that tries to understand it. Vexai stood up slowly. My ancestors wrote some of these warnings. 3,000 years ago, my people fought the Void Hunters. We survived by refusing to study their technology. Rob felt a cold fear in his stomach. Are you saying that human? Warships use the same technology as these ancient Void Hunters. I do not know, Vexai said honestly. But the energy patterns are the same. The hull designs are similar. And when we try to scan your military ships, our equipment reacts the same way it did to Void Hunter vessels. Dr. Nina Bell found one. More important piece of writing? It was carved deeper than the rest, like someone wanted to make sure it would never be forgotten. The Void Hunters did not disappear. They evolved. Somewhere in the galaxy, their descendants still live. They may not remember what they are, but their ships remember. The chaos technology is passed down through their bloodlines, hidden in their instincts for war. The group stood in silence, looking at the ancient warnings carved in stone. Outside, the ruins, the red sky of Mars looked darker than usual. Rob Green broke the silence. We need to get this information to Earth immediately. If humans are descended from the Void Hunters, then every warship we have built might be carrying this chaos technology. Vexai nodded. And if that is true, then my people's fears are justified. We cannot study your warships without risking our sanity. Steve Adams looked around at the ancient ruins. The question is, do the humans know what they have inherited? Or are they building chaos weapons without understanding what they are doing? The archaeological team packed up their equipment and prepared to leave Mars. They carried with them the most important discovery in human history, the knowledge that humanity might be the inheritors of an ancient and terrifying legacy. As their ship left the red planet behind, none of them knew that their discovery would change the relationship between humans and aliens forever. Commander Alex Turner had been given the most dangerous mission of his life. Earth's command wanted him to test the theory about human warships and Void Hunter technology. They gave him an old frigate called the UHS Explorer that was ready to be thrown away. They also gave him the best Zephyrian scientists who were brave enough to help. Alex looked at the Explorer floating in deep space. The ship was 20 years old and had fought in 3 wars. Its hull was scarred with battle damage. That had been repaired many times. It looked like a normal human warship. But now Alex wondered what secrets it might hide. Dr. Carl White was the human scientist leading the test. He had studied alien technology for 15 years and thought he understood how different machines worked together. But the reports from Mars had made him question everything he knew. "Are you sure about this, Carl?" Alex asked, as they prepared the testing equipment. The Zephyrian seemed really scared of what might happen. Carl looked through the window at the Zephyrian research ship floating nearby. "I need to know the truth, Alex. If human warships really use chaos technology, then every battle we have ever fought was won with weapons we don't understand." On the Zephyrian ship, researcher Thixmer was checking his scanning equipment for the 10th time. He was one of the bravest scientists of his people, but his hands were shaking. The ancient warnings from his home world kept playing in his mind. "The equipment is ready," Thixmer told his assistant. "But I want all safety protocols active. If anything goes wrong, we shut down immediately." Thixmer's assistant, a young scientist named Yalden, looked nervous. "Sir, are you sure we should do this? The old records say that even one scan of Void Hunter technology drove 3 scientists insane." "We have better equipment now," Thixmer said, trying to sound confident. "And we need to know if humans are really the descendants of the Void Hunters." The test began slowly. The Zephyrian scanning beams reached out toward the explorer like invisible fingers trying to touch the human ship. At first, everything seemed normal. The scanners read the whole thickness, the metal composition, and the basic structure. "So far, so good," Carl reported to Alex. "Our scanners are working fine on the outer hull." But as the Zephyrian beams tried to look deeper into the ship, strange things began to happen. The scanning equipment started making sounds it had never made before. Numbers on the screens began changing in ways that made no sense. "Thixmer, what's happening?" Carl asked over the radio. "I don't know," the alien scientist replied. His voice sounded confused and frightened. "The scanners are detecting energy patterns that should not exist. The numbers keep changing, even when nothing is moving." On the Zephyrian ship, Yalden watched. His instruments with growing fear. "Sir, the scanners are reading 17 different types of energy from the human weapon systems. But our science says only 3 types of energy are possible." Thixmer stared at his screens. The readings made no sense. According to his instruments, the human ship's weapons existed and did not exist at the same time. The ship's computer was calculating things that could not be calculated. "Shut down the deep scans," Thixmer ordered. "Only scan the surface systems." But it was too late. The scanning beams had already touched the core of the human ship's weapon systems. And those systems began to respond in ways that violated every law of physics the Zephyrians knew. Lieutenant Mary Fox was monitoring the human ship's systems during the test. She had been an engineer for 8 years and knew every sound the explorer's computers made. But now those computers were making new sounds. Sounds she had never heard before. "Dr. White, something is happening to our ship," Mary reported. "The weapon systems are activating by themselves." Carl looked at his readings in shock. "That's impossible. The weapons are powered down. There's no energy going to them." But Mary's instrument showed something different. "The weapons are drawing power from somewhere else, not from our engines or our batteries. The power is coming from empty space." On the Zephyrian ship, chaos was breaking out. Thixmer's scanning equipment was no longer just reading the human ship. It was beginning to copy the impossible energy patterns it had detected. The Zephyrian computer started calculating equations that had no solutions. "Sir, our main computer is malfunctioning," Yalden reported. "It's trying to solve mathematical problems that cannot be solved." Thixmer watched in horror as his instruments tried to understand human military technology. The scanners were not just broken, they were becoming infected with the chaos they had detected in the human ship. "Disconnect all scanning equipment from the main computer," Thixmer ordered. "Do it now." But some of the Zephyrian scientists had been studying the readings too closely. Dr. Vextalon, their weapons expert, was staring at the energy patterns. On his screen, his eyes were wide and his mouth was open. "The weapons don't fire energy," Vextalon whispered. "They fire holes in reality. The humans are shooting pieces of broken space at their enemies." Another scientist, Dr. Kelmyron, was looking at the readings from the human ship's engines. "The propulsion system is not pushing against space. It's convincing space to move the ship. The engines are lying to the universe about where the ship should be." Thixmer realized that his team was starting to understand the human technology, and understanding it was driving them insane. "Everyone stop looking at the readings. Shut down your screens." But Dr. Vextalon could not stop staring. The targeting computers don't calculate where to shoot. They decide where the enemy should be, and then make reality agree with them. It's impossible, but it works. Vextalon began to laugh, but it was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of someone whose mind was breaking. We've been trying to fight chaos with order for thousands of years. But the humans learned to fight chaos with bigger chaos. On the human ship, Mary Fox was watching her instruments with growing fear. Dr. White, our ship is changing. The weapon systems are rewriting their own programming. Carl looked at the data streams flowing across his screens. The Explorer's military systems were adapting to the Zephorian scans. They were learning and evolving in real time. It was like the ship was alive and defending itself. Alex, we need to stop this test now, Carl said into his radio. But Commander Turner was looking at something even more frightening. Carl, look at the scan results from the Zephorian ship. Their equipment is copying our weapon patterns. Carl's blood went cold. If this Ephirian scanning equipment had been infected with human chaos technology, it could spread to their main computer systems. An entire alien civilization could go insane trying to understand weapons that should not exist. On the Zephorian ship, Dr. Kelmyron was now staring at the wall instead of his instruments. I understand now, he said in a quiet voice. Big humans don't build their warships, they grow them. Each battle teaches the ships new ways to break reality. Thixmer made a desperate decision. Destroy all scanning equipment. Use the emergency charges. Blow up everything that has touched the human ship's data. Explosions echoed through the Zephorian ship as Thixmer's team destroyed their own instruments. It was the only way to stop the chaos from spreading to their main computers. Dr. Vextalon was sitting on the floor now, rocking back and forth. Thousands of years, he mumbled. We spent thousands of years learning to think logically. But the humans never learned logic. They kept the chaos. They made friends with impossibility. Yalden helped his sick colleagues to the medical bay. 3 Zephorian scientists had suffered mental breakdowns from trying to understand human technology. They would never be the same. Ike single quotes more sent a message to the human ship. Commander Turner, we are ending this test immediately. We are destroying all our data. Please do not ask us to explain what we found. Alex Turner looked at his own readings one more time before shutting down the test. The Explorer had not just been scanned by alien equipment, it had fought back. The ship's systems had actively resisted analysis, like a living thing protecting its secrets. Carl, what have we learned about ourselves? Alex asked. Dr. Carl White looked at the data they had collected. Human warships were indeed using technology that should not work. They violated the laws of physics, but somehow they functioned anyway. They were weapons built from pure chaos. We learned that we are the inheritors of something ancient and terrible, Carl said quietly. And we learned why advanced aliens are afraid of us. As the 2 ships moved apart in the darkness of space, both crews carried the weight of a terrible discovery. Humans were not just another spacefaring species. They were the children of chaos, building impossible weapons with instincts they did not understand. The test was over, but the real implications were just beginning. Ambassador Rick Davis walked into the meeting room on Neutral Station. Alpha 7. His hands were sweating, and his mouth was dry. This was the most important conversation in human history. Across the table sat the Zephorian High Council. 5. Of the oldest and wisest aliens in their civilization, the head of the council was Elder Nyxthera, whose silver eyes had seen 3,000 years of galactic history. She looked tired and sad as Rick sat down. Ambassador Davis, Elder Nyxthera said slowly, we must speak honestly about what we have discovered. Your people are the descendants of the Void Hunters. Rick had read all the reports from the test. He knew what the aliens had learned about human warships. But hearing it said out loud made it real in a way that frightened him. Elder Nyxthera, we don't understand our own technology, Rick said. Humans have been building warships for hundreds of years, but we never knew we were. Using chaos technology? We thought we were just making better weapons. The second council member, Elder Caxfell, leaned forward. That is what makes this situation so dangerous, Ambassador. Your people build impossible weapons without knowing they are impossible. fight wars with reality-breaking technology, and think it is normal. Dr. Jane Miller had come to the meeting as Earth Science Advisor. She had spent weeks studying the test results and the ancient records from Mars. Her job was to explain the science behind humanity's inherited chaos technology. Elders, our research shows that human military development follows patterns we cannot control, Jane said. Every time we improve our weapons, they become more chaotic. We think we are making them more efficient, but we are actually making them more impossible. Elder Nixthera nodded sadly. Your ancestors, the Void Hunters, learned to harness chaos as a survival tool. Over millions of years, this ability became part of their biology. You inherited this ability without inheriting the knowledge of what it does. Rick tried to understand what this meant for humanity. Are you saying we cannot control this chaos technology? Your warships grow stronger through battle, explained Elder Caxwell. Each time you fight, the chaos patterns in your weapons become more complex. Your ships learn to break reality in new ways, but you do not consciously control this process. General Paul Clark had been listening quietly. He was the highest-ranking military officer on Earth and had fought in more wars than any other human. The revelations about chaos technology explained many things he had never understood. Elder Nixthera, I have commanded warships for 30 years, Paul said. I always noticed that experienced ships fought better than new ships, even when they had the same equipment. The crew would say the ship had learned the enemy's tricks. That was not the crew learning, Elder Caxwell replied. That was the ship itself evolving. Your warships are alive in ways you do not understand. They adapt to each battle and become more effective at breaking the rules of physics. Dr. Jane Miller showed the council her research data. We discovered that human warship computers do not calculate battle solutions. They predict what should happen and then force reality to match their predictions. Our targeting systems do not aim at where enemies are. They decide where enemies should be and make the universe agree. The third council member, Elder Vothmir, spoke for the first time. This is why we cannot scan your warships. Our equipment tries to understand technology that operates outside the laws of science. The chaos patterns infect our computers and drive our scientists insane. Rick felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. What does this mean for relations between our peoples? Can humans and Zephyrians still be allies? Elder Nixthera was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. Ambassador Davis, we propose a new kind of alliance. One based on the understanding that your people have abilities we cannot comprehend, and we have knowledge you need to control those abilities. What kind of alliance? Rick asked. Elder Caxwell explained their proposal. We will share our civilian technology with you, our medical science, our agriculture techniques, our peaceful technologies. In return, you will promise to use your chaos. Weapons only for defense. General Paul Clark understood the implications immediately. You want us to protect you from other threats in the galaxy, but you will help us become a better civilization in peaceful ways. Exactly, said Elder Vothmir. Your chaos technology makes you the most dangerous military force in the galaxy, but you lack the wisdom to use that power responsibly. I can teach you wisdom if you will protect us with your strength. Dr. Jane Miller had one important question. Elders, is it possible for humans to learn to control our chaos technology consciously? Elder Nixthera considered this carefully. Perhaps with time and training, but it would take generations. Your people would need to learn to think in ways that violate logic. Most species cannot do this without going insane. But humans already think this way naturally, Elder Caxwell added. You call it intuition, or gut feelings, or thinking outside the box. What you call creative thinking, we call controlled chaos. You have the mental ability to understand impossible technology because chaos thinking is part of your nature. Rick began to see the possibilities, so humans could learn to build chaos technology on purpose instead of by accident. With proper guidance, yes, Elder Nixthera said, but it would be dangerous. The more consciously you use chaos technology, the more powerful and unpredictable it becomes. Captain Dan Cooper had been chosen to be the first human liaison for the new alliance. He was a military officer who had also studied alien cultures. His job would be to make sure human warships did not accidentally hurt alien vessels. Elder Nix Thera, how do we keep our chaos technology from affecting your ships? Dawn asked. Distance and respect, Elder Caxfell replied. Human warships create fields of chaos around them. These fields can disrupt any logical technology that gets too close. Military vessels must maintain safe distances from all alien ships. Dr. Jane Miller took notes as the aliens explained the safety protocols. How far is a safe distance? For civilian vessels, 1,000 miles, Elder Vothmir said. For sensitive equipment like our research ships, 10,000 miles. Your chaos fields grow stronger during combat, so these distances must be increased during any military action. General Paul Clark realized this would change how humans fought wars. This means human warships will have to fight alone. We cannot have alien allies in the same battle without risking their sanity. That is correct, Elder Nixera said. But in return for this isolation, we will provide you with intelligence, logistics, support, and advanced civilian technology that will make your people stronger and wiser. Rick Davis felt hopeful for the first time in weeks. This alliance could work. Humans protect the galaxy with our chaos weapons, while you help us become a better civilization with your knowledge. The negotiations continued for 3 days. Final agreement established new protocols for human-alien cooperation. Humans would use their inherited chaos technology to defend against threats that logical technology could not handle. In return, alien civilizations would share a peaceful knowledge that would help humanity grow beyond its violent past. Captain Dan Cooper established the new military protocols immediately. Human warships would maintain isolation distances from all alien vessels. Special communication systems would allow coordination without physical proximity. Most importantly, human military officers would receive training in chaos theory so they could begin to understand their own weapons. Dr. Jane Miller returned to Earth with plans for new research programs. Human scientists would study chaos technology. With alien guidance, learning to control their inherited abilities instead of using them blindly, the goal was to eventually build hybrid vessels that combined human chaos cores with alien logic systems. General Paul Clark began training a new generation of human officers who understood what their weapons really were. For the first time in human history, military cadets learned that their ships were alive, that their weapons broke reality, and that their targeting computers convinced the universe to cooperate with human desires. The final ceremony took place on the same neutral station where the negotiations had begun. Representatives from 12 alien civilizations came to witness the signing of the Chaos Accord, the treaty that would govern human-alien relations for centuries to come. Elder Nix Thera spoke to the assembled delegates. Today we recognize that the galaxy contains forces beyond our understanding. The humans carry the legacy of chaos, but they have chosen to use that legacy for protection rather than conquest. In return, we offer them the wisdom to control their inheritance. Ambassador Rick Davis signed the treaty with hands that no longer shook. The human race accepts the responsibility of being the inheritors of chaos technology. We will use our power to protect the innocent and defend the weak. In return, we ask for the patience and wisdom of our alien friends as we learn to control abilities we never knew we possessed. As the ceremony ended, the first hybrid vessel was already under construction in Earth's orbit. The UHS Harmony combined a human chaos core with Zephyrian life support and navigation systems. It would be crewed by humans who had been trained in both chaos theory and logical thinking. Captain Dan Cooper would command the Harmony on its first mission. As he looked out at the stars, he thought about the